I think we got to break down a little bit what happened last week to actually figure out what's going to happen this week.
Yeah, for sure. And well, let's go back to last week, because at the start of the week I spoke to Ryan Palmer, who's a member of Colonial, and Jason Kokrak, who, as you said, won here last year. And they both said that Southern Hills was like, Ryan Palmer's quote was great. He said it's like Colonial on steroids. And Jason said the same thing. It's just like a bigger version of Colonial. And as you said, both Perry Maxwell designs. But last week, what did you make of the PGA Championship and that incredible Sunday that we saw? I was talking about it with someone and said, I'm not ashamed to say it, that I enjoyed it way more than I enjoyed the final round of the Masters.
Yeah, I think there's a million ways you could describe what happened last week at the PGA. But Tiger Woods kind of summed it up in a certain tweet that he wrote about Justin Thomas, where he said Justin Thomas kind of hung around and he stole the PGA. Now, you may say it's not fair that Justin Thomas stole the PGA, but he kind of did. Mito Pereira, who we all were watching very closely to see if this rookie who played at Texas Tech from Chile could pull this off. And he got all the way down to the 72nd hole, a half a roll on 17. He has a 2-shot lead playing the last hole. And he probably hit the right drive off, right idea off 18, but it was just too much for him, and he just lost his swing on 18, put it in the water, made double bogey. And then we saw Will Zalatoris, who struggled pretty much the whole weekend with his putting and finished up in a playoff. And here we are celebrating a player, Justin Thomas, who's won his second PGA. It's funny on the tour, Diane, there's two types of tiers on the tour. There's the guys we think are going to win the majors, like Justin Thomas, and then we have a bunch of other guys that we sort of hope and can they do it. And that dynamic was the most in play, and it was almost like Justin Thomas stole it at the end, although he's the most deserving champion, of course. But it was a very interesting ending in my mind. Will Zalatoris could have won by 6 strokes in my mind.
And it was just such a roller coaster of emotion, because you love, Justin Thomas wears his heart in his sleeve when it comes to how he feels about the majors and winning a second major. He'd won the PGA at Quail Hollow in 17, and he said at the beginning of the week, it's so hard to win any week, but it's so difficult to win majors. And that second one was like the monkey on his back. So you're happy for Justin Thomas, and he's the sort of guy that you would expect to win a major. But then you have that, as you say, the Cinderella story of these rookies, Zalatoris, Cameron Young, Mito Pereira, and everyone felt that devastation for Pereira. Even if you didn't want him to win, nobody wanted his Sunday to end the way it did. You at least wanted him to get into the playoff, have a 3-man playoff. But then you see his interview afterwards, and he didn't need to talk to the TV crews, and he did. And he'll take so much away from that. But it's so lovely to see. I just love seeing these guys who were contending for their first win, and it was at a major. And it just shows the breadth of talent that we've got coming up through the ranks year after year on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like 3 players now that are almost household names after the PGA. Cameron Young, who looks like a giant rubber band that just stretches back, holds it, and then just snaps it. Will Zalatoris, who hasn't won a tournament, and of course Mito Pereira. All 3 of them hadn't won, but now we know their names. We know everything about their games. We know everything. Cameron Young, of course, we've been watching closely all year. He's going to be a star player. Interesting that both those guys him and Zalatoris have a little bit of a dodgy putter. Zalatoris, of course, hasn't won on the PGA Tour. It's hard to believe that you could almost have a household name now in Zalatoris. Plays so well in the majors. Doesn't ever let anyone down when he plays in the big tournaments, except himself. I mean, we love watching him. He's so good, but he's got to get that putting figured out. I think he will. But where it goes for Zalatoris from here, I'm not sure. I only see great things, but I just don't know where this is going to pop up again.
Well, I've got a prediction for Zalatoris, and it'll come a little bit later on in the show. But, I mean, he's played 8 majors and had 5 top 10 finishes. 2 of them have been runner-ups. It's like, and we saw that he lost in a playoff at the Farmers Insurance Open at the start of the year. But just amazing. And then Cameron Young was my pick at the start of the week. So you can imagine how excited I was until we had a pesky double bogey. And I was like, here we go. And you were big on Matt Fitzpatrick, who was right there until pretty much the end too. So a successful week for us, I would say.
Yeah, and I think, there's being a tour player for a long time, there's a certain heartbeat on the tour. When I say heartbeat, I mean sort of a attitude, a philosophy, a feeling. And I think the feeling going into Colonial this week, Diane, going to this particular course, is that one got away for the blue-collar tour players last week. In other words, Mito Pereira could have sort of been the hero of the rest of the tour players, the ones that we don't expect to win. So my picks are reflecting a different field this week, Diane. I'm reflecting that the more of the down the list field that are going to jump in and win this tournament out of nowhere just because they're like, I saw it, I felt it. I saw Mito Pereira was right there to the very end, and we saw the old, can't even call him old, Justin Thomas, the old pro that we knew he was going to do. I mean, think about how many times, I know you saw my tweet. I only tweeted once, which was how Justin Thomas hit that tight draw off 18 to win the Players' Championship 2 years ago. And then he hit this tight fade off 18. How many times do you think Justin Thomas practiced that tee shot to get ready for that particular shot at Southern Hills? 1,000 of them down at Palm Springs, down in West Palm where he lives. He was preparing for that tee shot exactly. And he was ready for it. Mito Pereira was not. However, I'm thinking that the heartbeat of the tour, Diane, is feeling a little jaded and also motivated this week. So I'm pulling up some guys that are playing very well, that are high odds. They're going to jump right in and win this tournament.
I love that. That's such a fantastic way to sum it up and to look ahead to this week.